for Donald Trump to come in and crap all over the city shows he's out of touch, he's dangerous, and he's full of it.
Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man.
Okay, check this out. After Hurricane Milton passed, Joe Biden was asked if he talked to Donald Trump. Apparently, this triggered the old man.
Have you spoken with former President Trump at all?
Are you kidding me? Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
Will you hold him accountable? You said you were going to hold those accountable.
Public will hold them accountable. You better in the press hold them accountable because you know the truth.
Will you plan to speak with former President Trump?
No.
Also a little bizarre, Biden said that Netanyahu would be helping with the hurricane cleanup.
Mr. President, what did Prime Minister Netanyahu tell you about his plans relating to retaliation?
He's coming over to help with the storm.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump provided free accommodations to emergency services workers at his Miami hotel.
Joshua Hasu. Keith Wales. Cody Johnson. Yep.
And during the hurricane relief live stream, Kamala Harris, knowing she's mic'd up, covers her mouth to tell an aide that she's in the middle of a live broadcast, like nobody's going to be able to hear her.
We really got to watch those areas and those communities. So it takes quite a while for that water to drain.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Ken, I have a question for you. You mentioned words matter, and I know there's a lot of media following this briefing.
And mainstream media has converged once again to tell us that Detroit city officials are offended because Donald Trump just said this in Detroit.
We are a developing nation. Well, we're a developing nation too. Just take a look at Detroit. Detroit's a developing area, a hell of a lot more than most places in China. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president.
And of course, Gretchen gun grabber Whitmer had something to say about this on CNN. By the way, Gretchen's mic peak is on CNN's side, not mine.
You had choice words for Donald Trump after he trashed Detroit while in Detroit. The thing that I wonder today is, why do you think he said it?
I don't know, because he doesn't know what the heck he's talking about on this issue or on many others, Kate. You don't come into Detroit and speak to the Detroit Economic Club and then denigrate the city of Detroit. It shows he's totally out of touch. Detroit's population is growing for the first time in decades. We hosted the biggest, best NFL draft the country's ever seen. The Lions and the Tigers are kicking, behind, and we are seeing a resurgence in manufacturing thanks to the Biden-Harris administration. So there's so much good stuff going on in Detroit. And so for Donald Trump to come in and crap all over the city shows he's out of touch, he's dangerous, and he's full of it.
Now, CNN's Kate Baldwin has a really good comeback here. If Donald Trump is offending so many people over there in Michigan, then why the heck is the race so tight? And I gotta admit that I really enjoy watching Gretchen squirm as she tries to answer this question.
You wrote to Trump last night that the way you put it is, you better believe Detroiters won't forget this in November. If he is burning bridges with voters there, and turning them off, as you say, why then is it still so tight in Michigan?
I think like everywhere, right? We know that we've been a divided country. We know that his ugly and divisive rhetoric has taken a toll, and that has hardened people. And a lot of people are turning out because it's so toxic, thanks to Donald Trump. And that's why our work is so important. We're kicking off our Blue Wall bus tour. Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, Governor Evers, we're kicking it off on Monday.
I thought this was an interesting glitch that lasts about 5 seconds on this broadcast.
how Kamala Harris is going to focus on growing the middle class, cutting our costs, and delivering for people. But this is going to be a close election. Despite all his ugly rhetoric, his divisive rhetoric, and his insulting rhetoric, it's going to be a close election, and we're not taking anyone for granted.
Now watch CNN actually admit that the Harris campaign is trying to manipulate black voters by getting Barack Obama involved in Kamala Harris's campaign. And why would they do that? Because Kamala Harris just ain't cutting the mustard with black voters.
Detroit is one of the largest majority black cities in the country. And one thing that Barack Obama's return to the campaign trail and his message to black men voters while he was in Pittsburgh is how Donald Trump has recently made inroads with black male voters, that there is signs that Harris is having a tough time mobilizing what could be a very important demographic. What about Kamala Harris's pitch is falling short, so much so that they're sending Obama to reconnect and bridge the gap?
Well, I think that there are a lot of people in our country who are struggling. They're struggling to make ends meet. They feel unheard, and because of that, they're either checking out or they're looking for change.
Do you get what Gretchen just admitted here? I mean, look at Kate's face. She gets what's going on. People are having a tough time because of the current administration, and they're looking for change. Now, Gretchen is going to pitch the opposite of change while continuing to call it change.
Kamala Harris is the change we need. Kamala Harris is going to usher in a whole new moment in this country. I am proud to be a supporter and to be one of the campaign co-chairs. She's got a vision for America that includes everyone because she's lived lives like ours. She has had to work hourly jobs and take care of an elderly parent. Donald Trump doesn't get that. He's never sat with a parent who has to take chemotherapy and organize their pills for them. He's never changed a diaper, as Barack Obama said. I can't even imagine he's ever done any of those things. But that's what lives of Americans are like. And that's why we need someone who gets us, who's going to fight for us. And that's Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Picking up on this nonsense, CNN pushes back by playing a clip from The View where Harris says she would not do anything different from what Biden has done, and that, in fact, Harris was a part of all those important decisions that ended up with people desperate for the change that Whitmer just admitted people are looking for.
And you talk about Harris being change. The VP this week was on The View and was asked how basically she would be the change, how a Harris presidency would be different from a Biden presidency. Let me play this.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
She later circled back and said a change would be different, would be a Republican in her cabinet. But do you, as a Democratic governor, want Harris's presidency, if she wins, to look not a thing differently, to be exactly like a Biden presidency?
I think the values are aligned, but obviously she's a different leader than the current president. She's been a great partner to him, but she's got a different lived experience. She's got a different vision of what we need to accomplish and where our focus needs to be. I'm grateful that she is out there talking about care for people who are at home and in their later years. This is a fundamental integrity question. It's also about quality of life, but it's also about saving money for our country and for our people. So she's got a different lived experience. She's going to bring it to all things, and this is going to be a very different chapter in America if she becomes our next president. And that's why I'm excited. That's why I see a reflection of who we are, of the middle class, of people who work hard and do the best they can. They need a president who sees them, who has lived a life like theirs, and that's Kamala Harris, without a question.
And Kate Baldwin smoothly delivers the final fatal 1-2 punch by telling Whitmer that her answer is exactly why people are concerned about a Kamala Harris presidency, because ain't nothing gonna change.
I think what you just said is exactly why so many Democrats were surprised with the answer that she gave initially on The View.
Hey Gretchen, I got a pro tip for you. Maybe you need to start thinking through some things before you appear on another live broadcast, you gun grabber. And Kate's like, amen, brother. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comments section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. That's highimpactflix.com. If you want to support the channel further, grab a shirt, become a channel member, but more importantly, understand that in times of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act, and it's easier to deceive the masses than to convince them that they've been deceived. I'll see you in the next video.